Ladies and gentlemen, we are interrupting our regular broadcast to bring you extraordinary events taking place in
unexplained disturbance and the hysteria that it's causing are incredible.
How would you describe what you are seeing?
Widespread panic has gripped the countryside as thousands have taken to the streets.
The first movie was really one of these things which just worked.
There was a great energy making the movie, and then it came out and it was this huge hit.
It's an exciting movie, but also has a lot of love in it. We ain't just running around shooting guns. I'm very proud of you.
But I didn't really think it was going to be a huge film. And then one day I was talking to Jeff Goldblum, and he says, you know, I've got a feeling about this movie.
Roland Emmerich knows how to connect with a lot of people and tell them a rip-roaring good story.
It was an alien invasion movie, but it was also a disaster film, and I think it created something new.
We had such a ride on the first one.
Gentlemen, let's plow the road!
When it came out, it was a surprise to everybody.
We were literally one of the first big-budget sci-fi movies that was just a huge global phenomenon.
I always had this fascination with like alien invasion movies, and I had just done Stargate, which was the sleeper hit of the fall at that time.
While we were on the press tour, we would very often be asked, do we believe that aliens have visited Earth? And usually we'd say, no, we don't. And at some point, Roland said, imagine if tomorrow we woke up and there was a 14-mile wide spaceship above a city. And then he leaned over to me and said, I think I have our next movie.
So there was a lot of interest from all sides, and we knew we had to rush, because I just heard that one of my favorite directors, you know, Tim Burton, was doing a parody of it at Warner's. And like Carradine immediately said, oh, we cannot beat them. I said, yes, we can. And then we went off to Mexico and in 3 weeks wrote the script. And then like kind of, we named it Independence Day, only to date it before Mars Attacks, because we knew that comes out in August.
Roland was a big fan of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Initiating communication sequence, Echo 1. Welcome wagon has commenced.
Maybe they're friendly.
There's something happening here.
But maybe they're not. People in Los Angeles on the top of the building are, hey, that's so beautiful, come and visit us. And then they get decimated.
So pretty.
Every person knows when somebody from outside comes and disturbs your way of living. I think everybody can relate to that.
The unique idea was we decided, rather than telling an alien invasion story, we decided to do the movie as a disaster film and really pattern it after the old Irwin Allen movies.
I read it and I thought it's really kind of cool, and I hadn't seen anything like it. It was kind of an homage to disaster films from another time.
When I read the first script, I recognized there was a certain kind of tone about it that was unusual, with this mix of action and humor and...
Oh no, you did not shoot that green shit at me!
Direness and sentimentality and all kind of in a washing machine tumble.
I don't understand. Where does all this come from? How do you get funding for something like this? You don't actually think they spend $20,000 on a hammer, $30,000 on a toilet seat, do you?
Roland Emmerich has a unique way of putting things together. He has a unique sensibility and sense of humor and sense of telling a story.
The humor brings the humanity of the situation into the film. And it allows us to say, we're having some fun here. Don't take this too serious.
That's what he wanted from me, no matter how serious it is. In the midst of the worst thing that's happening.
We are evacuating. I repeat, we are evacuating the White House.
I can look at a telephone and say, look, we have our own phone. We're going to the White House for the first time. I said I should have worn something different.
If I knew I was going to meet the president, I would have worn a tie. I mean, look at me. I look like a schlemiel.
Roland is absolutely the master of the genre. The first Independence Day, they had a lot of wonderful elements that all worked.
Babe, you want some of this coffee? Babe.
Boom, boom, boom. But I think the day that we realized the kind of hit it was going to be was our last test screening. And the audience didn't know what movie they were coming in to see. So the movie
Then they started to run the trailers. July 2nd, they came. July 3rd, they attacked. July 4th, the day we fought back. And it then escalated like a rocket. And I realized, wow, this thing has got some juice.
I snuck into a theater when it first came to New York. And the sound that you heard when the movie started was extraordinary. I didn't know what was going to happen. It's like the vision of the American flag on the moon, some kind of reverberation type music, a shadow over the moon, and I'll tell you, they all got up and shouted. The idea of boom, 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 something's gonna happen.
Lines around the block, and people actually saw the movie over the course of the Independence Day weekend 2-3 times.
I was in Toronto making another film, and I wanted to take my cast to see Independence Day. It was sold out around the clock. Sold out for 2 days. Everyone and their mama wanted to go and see Independence Day, and they did.
I think the majority of the world has seen Independence Day. When somebody comes up and says, oh my gosh, you were the doctor in Independence Day, I love that.
The last 24 hours have been really exciting.
We were like in New York on a press junket, and all of a sudden people come in and they say, guys, we have to stop now. It was like kind of at 4:30 or so. And I said, why are we stopping so early? And said, well, you know, you got invited to the White House. There's a jet waiting for you guys.
We went to the White House to watch the movie with the Clintons, and that I really felt like, wow, we're getting a wide audience.
Hey, Mark! We had a good time working on the first one. We had a lot of laughs together and a lot of fun.
When I read the first script, Julius was not my first name. And I thought I was going to have a very difficult time playing Moshe. And then I met Dean Devlin. And I said, I can't play Moshe. And he said, okay. Well, who would you choose? So I thought of Julius Caesar. I don't know why. You know, it gets a little grander in my head. I said, Julius. He said, good. My uncle's name is Julius. So it stuck.
The funniest thing about the tunnel scene, everyone's like, Vivica, your hair was awesome. I don't know how your hair and the wind, it was like the greatest hair commercial. And then you saved the dog. When the dog came running through and you grabbed him, it was like, Mama! They loved it.
Roland has always been a big fan of improvisation. He brilliantly casts these movies with people who have the skill of improvisation.
Something you want to add to this briefing, Captain Hiller?
No, sir. Just a little anxious to get up there and whoop E.T.'s ass, that's all.
In the ship that we go up in, that was all blue, green screen, whatever it was. They had to describe what we were looking at because we were in Nowheresville. We were in Los Angeles on a set. What are we looking at now? Oh, the alien behind the thing, okay, and what do we do? Oh, we got the idea, and we like you doing this. Me and the great Will Smith, we started to fool around and kind of make things up.
Look at us. Take a look at the Earthlings.
I'll take care, all right? Nothing but love for you. Nothing but love.
Fat lady, da-da-da-da, and oops, and da-da-da-da. I remember it was really a lot of fun.
Can you get us out of here in 30 seconds?
I ain't heard no fat lady.
Forget the fat lady. You're obsessed with the fat lady. Drive us out of here.
Whitmore had such an iconic moment in the first one with that speech to rally the troops.
When we were writing the original movie, we wanted to do a scene kind of like the St. Crispin's Day speech, where the king, the president, sees his men are ready to go to battle, but they're nervous. And he knows he has to rally them if they're going to succeed. We go to write the scene, and Roland says to me, so we only have to write a speech as good as the St. Crispin's Day speech, no problem.
Dean tried to write it, because at that time he was the American, he had to write. I was like pacing down the hall, constantly kind of in with a pen, like kind of drawing and correcting what he had written. So he goes, maybe comes like back 15 minutes later and said, here it is. And I said, oh, it's pretty good.
Perhaps it's fate that today is the 4th of July. And you will once again be fighting for our freedom.
So I said, look, let's not get hung up on it now. It's a placeholder, and we moved on with making the movie. Well,
Not until the fat lady sings.
Oh, yes, okay.
This is important.
Before that scene on the salt flats, I remember there waiting with Will and a couple other people and an AD with a walkie-talkie, and we do many, many takes, and the cigar had to be fuming and smoking. And, you know, even if you don't inhale, it gets in you. And I'm a very pure, fragile flower. So I did that a couple times. I started to feel queasy, not so good. So I said, can you, Mr. AD, until we go, get that going so it's smoking, please. And when they call action, give it to me, and I'll walk and smoke. That's what we did. A special shout out, as I think the kids say, to that wonderful AD.